Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. My name is Daniel Cott. I'm delighted to be joined for our first late night edition of the season by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, I'm glad you managed to stay up.
Well, see, when you get to my age, Dan, you start getting that way where you feel you could drop off. And that performance tonight from Celtic, it was. It wasn't what we expected. It wasn't the high energy, high tempo Celtic that I think the fans are looking for. It became a bit of a slog, didn't it? I have to say, credit to Dundee. And I'm sure it was it the cup game last season? I remember watching it and thinking they're actually enjoying themselves out there. Teams shouldn't really be going to Celtic Park and enjoying themselves, but Dundee were picking passes, playing through the midfield. I thought they were really well set up in the first half. They just fell for the old Nigerian sucker punch, didn't they? And you know, he's such a master at that. It was a brilliant cross from Tierney for the winning goal. But Nigerian sort of goes in again. Defenders don't pick him up. He's got himself a free header 5 yards out. Absolutely buries it. So yeah, it was actually there was a lot of kind of flashbacks to last season from that Celtic performance. It wasn't convincing. It wasn't intense enough for me. But Nigerian again floats through a game, but comes up with the critical moment, the decisive moment. Celtic put 3 points on the board, and I think they can just kind of go home and be satisfied that there wasn't a slip up. Not a great night for the new boys. Duran and Casper Who never really get going. So I think the only thing that we can say definitively at this point, Daniel, is the only upgrade that we know about for certain is Martin O'Neill's tracksuit. I preferred that one to last season's one. It's like Rocky, isn't it? Rocky 2 when he gets his new robe. Yeah, so that's a massive upgrade.
I do. It's quite tidy, this one this season, isn't it? It's quite sharp.
And it fits him.
Crucial.
But in terms of his team, there's a lot of work to do. We know that Everton were in the stadium tonight looking again on Alistair Johnson. Not that they need to, because I think they've made their mind up. They're going to table an offer that Celtic will be doing, give them very little option, but to sell and looks like Arnie Engels as well. Arnie Engels was up and down again tonight, wasn't he? I didn't think he had a great game. Some good moments, but some poor, sloppy moments as well. And these boys, they'll have a lot in their mind right now. So yeah, it does. It means there's more questions than answers hanging over Celtic. They don't want to put a performance like that on in the Champions League qualifiers. Let's just leave it at that. They're going to have to sharpen up a little bit if they want to avoid what happened this time last year.
Absolutely. We've got tons of comments coming in, and if you want to let us know your thoughts on tonight's game and from the weekend in general, please do so. A lot of them, as you can imagine, Keith, are on Celtic, on Casper Who, Camilo Duran. But I thought I'd maybe just start with this one because Rob is one of a few people saying very encouraging display from Dundee. And I have to say that going into this game, I mean, they lost Luke Graham in the summer. They lost Cameron Congreve. They lost Jan Danda. That's just a few. They lost a lot of really influential players.
They lost the two kind of wide guys who were so carrying such a threat last season. I was really impressed with Dundee.
Me too.
Really impressed with them. As I said, it's not hoofball they're playing. They're playing picking passes through midfield, getting on the ball, very accurate in possession, tidy with their work. Stephen Pressley's doing an excellent job. I'd said that previously, and it did remind me of last season when I saw them at Celtic Park. And as I said to you, that's the biggest compliment I can pay them, is that they look as if they're enjoying themselves out there. Mm-hmm. That's not a great compliment for Celtic, because when teams come to Celtic Park, you're expecting Celtic to be swarming all over them and suffocating them in the middle of the pitch, not letting them settle, not letting them get in and get a foothold and feel comfortable in the game at any point. You want Celtic to set a tempo that frazzles opponents. But I thought in that first half, Dundee just played their way into it, and I thought they were really comfortable in the game.
No, I completely agree. I'd kind of thought they might be one of the candidates for relegation, and look, it's a long season, but no, I thought they were really kind of impressive.
Well, I think the building blocks that Stephen Pressley put in place last year, and it took him a while, if you remember. It was a bit all over the place at the start of the season. He wasn't well received by the Dundee fans. I think they've completely changed their mind about him. I think they're delighted that he's signed a new contract. And I think that the hard work that was done last season, where you can see the way they've started off this season, the way that they're popping the ball around, the sort of style of football they've got, there's a signature to that style of play. And I think it's pretty impressive. And I think on the basis of tonight's game, I think Dundee will look forward and be looking upwards this season rather than over their shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me read out some of the Celtic reaction for you, Keith, and get your thoughts. Mark said it was same old Rangers after their game, but it was same old turgid, one pace, zero creativity for us, but we scraped a win. Please God, we can't play this system again this season. Marzino says Duran is never a right winger, and Yang, I just can't watch him this season. Gianni says Celtic should have appointed Jens in the summer or someone else. They're on standby for another season, a club without a plan by the looks of it. And a couple of comments on Casper Who. Green Machine says Celtic's ball retention was really good, and another day Who might have scored a few, but it wasn't to be. Still a lot of uncertainty about who's going and coming in. First game's a slow burner. And Mac says, I get the goals. He's talking about Who. I get the goals, but never a fan of lazy players, and the boy is lazy. What did you make of his debut, Keith?
Well, look, I wasn't impressed, but I'm prepared to say, look, it's a new arrival. He's only in the door. He barely knows his teammates yet. I think Celtic fans will need to be patient with him. The clips that I watched of Casper Who at Bodo Glimt, he doesn't look lazy to me. He looks aggressive. He looks physical. He looks like he wants to attack balls coming into the penalty box. I think one of the upsides, one of the only upsides from the performance tonight was he was getting himself into dangerous areas. He should have scored 2 or 3. His finishing wasn't what it should have been tonight, but I think he'll get better. You would like to think. I mean, his track record's there. He's a goal scorer, and he was really clinical at Bodo Glimt. I did say, Dan, the one sort of nagging doubt you would have is that a lot of Bodo Glimt's best players have, made the next step, got big moves to other places in Europe, and they've struggled a little bit. As a sort of squad, they haven't travelled particularly well. When they have, attracted interest, some of these players, they've then struggled to make the next step. Now, I think a lot of that pretty tight knit community. Casper, who is Danish, so he's not from there, so he has travelled there and he's done well at Bodo. I think Celtic fans, I don't think you can have a knee-jerk snap judgment on him on the back of his debut, although I accept that he didn't light any fires at Celtic Park tonight.
He looks like a poacher to me, Keith, and if a poacher like that, you need to get him the service. And that's obviously going to be something Celtic will need. I mean, I know Yang played tonight. Duran, I don't know what you thought. He didn't look comfortable on the right for me. No. I haven't seen him play through the middle yet, Dan. But from everything that I'm hearing, he probably feels a lot more comfortable in a more central position. He wasn't offering much out on the right-hand side. Neat and tidy. But, when you're looking at what Celtic are trying to do, we're talking about upgrades, definitive upgrades. Well, Dyson Maeda was a wide player or plays through the middle. There wasn't any great sign from Duran tonight that he's on that same level as Dyson Maeda. Again, it's early days. This is, first game of the season. Guys are still getting to know their surroundings. I don't think, as I said, I don't think it benefits anybody to make snap reactions or snap judgments. But yeah, I think Celtic fans went to that game tonight really excited to see what their new £17 million strike force looked like, and probably left with shrugging their shoulders a little bit. I think the hope for Celtic's point of view is that these guys will only get better in the coming weeks and in time.
But as I said to you, Celtic in general, and those two in particular, they're going to have to sharpen up ahead of the Champions League qualifier against Las Glins, because, look, this is a tie that Celtic should be capable of winning. But we saw Sturm Graz turn Hearts over.
Yeah.
And won the title in Austria last season, so it'll be a decent standard. It should be a tie that Celtic get through if Celtic are run properly, if the team's up and running properly, if the signings are hitting the ground running. It should be a winnable tie for Celtic. But that performance tonight leaves you with some concerns, because it just wasn't the Celtic we were expecting to see.
We're getting a lot of stick here. A lot of people saying, look, they're just in the door. Come on. And that's true. Obviously, it's the first game of the season. They'll take time.
You can't make a judgment on 90 minutes tonight. But I'm sure that both of those players would have looked to have made a better first impression in the first home league game of the season tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get your take as well on, you mentioned Arnie Engels, but Alistair Johnston as well, because these are two guys that I don't think either had a great game today. And see, if you're in their shoes, potentially big money moves to England, could you understand if they weren't, going right into tackles and potentially risking getting injured?
Yeah, it's a really difficult situation. It's an awkward situation. These guys, and Martin O'Neill said that they both said they wanted to play. I can believe that. I certainly don't think, particularly Alistair Johnston, his attitude is pretty immaculate as a professional. Did he have his most intense 90 minutes tonight? No, he didn't. Was he driving at people the way that he normally does? No, he probably wasn't. Was he flying into tackles the way that you would expect from Alistair Johnston? Maybe not. But look, there's a lot to take into consideration when you're in a situation like this, and there's the potential for a big money move and the chance to move to England's Premier League. That's a lot to get your head around. I just think it's probably going to be one now. The question for Celtic is, you probably know that you're going to lose these two guys, so it's now a question of timing and transfer fee. You need to get the right fee, but also you need to make a decision on the timing. Celtic might be minded to keep hold of these two, because that starting 11 tonight, see, when you look at the names on the team sheet, that's a strong Celtic starting 11.
Yeah.
The concern is that you don't need to get too far under the surface before you start looking at it saying Celtic can't really do without some of these players right now. The quality isn't there in depth in the squad. Again, that's an issue for the board. But what are we? I think the sort of deadline for getting the squad for the Champions League qualifier is the 13th or 14th of August.
I think it's the 14th, yeah.
I'm going to have to get their finger out. And if they are going to let Engels and Alistair Johnston move on before that tie, well, they absolutely have to make sure they've got nailed down replacements of a similar standard. We've talked about the importance of Alistair Johnston to that Celtic side. We've talked about the drop-off that there was last season when he was out injured. And then again, the difference he made to the balance of the side when he came back in towards the end of the season. Celtic have to make sure that they've got a like-for-like, as far as they can be certain, a like-for-like replacement for Alistair Johnston, because his absence affected the team massively, I felt, last season.
Yeah, absolutely. What about this though? Padraig says in the comments, Celtic won't sell Engels or Johnston until the Champions League qualifier is done and dusted. Then and only then let the dominoes fall. And look, I get his point. Crucial game, really important for Celtic, crucial tie, worth 40-odd million and what have you. And I get Celtic might not have a say in it. It might not get to decide when they sell these players. But I would want to get them out ASAP, Keith. I'd want to get it done now if I was Martin O'Neill. Get it done, get replacements in.
Look, tonight was it seemed like an awkward game for Celtic all round. Again, you can't base any decisions on that 90 minutes tonight. But if it becomes a concern, and if Martin O'Neill sits down with these two players and says, look, where's your heads at, guys? And if they make it pretty clear that they would just rather get going and get down south sooner rather than later, then you've potentially got a problem, because if their heads aren't fully focused on what's in front of them in a Celtic shirt, because they know they're just killing time till they make the move, if you're not getting the best version of these two, then the team will suffer for that as well. So look, there are issues that need sorted. There's no doubt about it. We talked about Rangers on Friday night. They've got obvious issues which need to be addressed. Martin O'Neill's the same. Martin O'Neill and Derek McInnes are sitting here now. The season is up and running, and there's issues all around them that need to be rectified and solutions found for them. And it should have been done now. They shouldn't be going into a season, these two, in a state of disarray and sort of making things up as they go along. There has to be better strategy for both of the clubs and both of the recruitment departments. And right now the managers are having to front it up when they know full well that things will probably look really different between now and the end of August, or they certainly should do.
And that's the thing as well, Keith. I mean, I know we're kind of boring ourselves at this point, talking about Celtic need recruits and what have you. But see, particularly in the middle of the park, if Engel goes as we expect, that's one. Hatate was on the bench tonight. You expect him to go as well. After that, the two that they had on the bench for centre mid, or could play centre mid, McCowan and Oxlade-Chamberlain, both of whom you wouldn't have thought are going to start games week in, week out. So I know Mika Bauer's been linked, but you would think at least one other midfielder on top of him is required.
Well, I think the frustration from a Celtic fan's perspective is that Mika Bauer's, you say, been linked.
Aye, exactly.
They've been playing footsie with the guy for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks now. Mm-hmm. So there's no time for dragging these things out. It's going to cost an extra $500, whatever it is. They have to be aware there's a necessity to give these players to Martin O'Neill, get them out at Lennoxtown and get him building something. Because it's complacency that will kill Celtic in the end. And it's complacency which continues to haunt this Celtic board. Every time the transfer market opens for business, they seem to be caught by surprise. It's like when a plane lands at Glasgow Airport and there's nobody to get your bags off. People are amazed that a plane's just arrived at Glasgow Airport. Celtic seem to be amazed every time the transfer window opens. And that's a dereliction of duty in many regards.
Aye, no, I completely agree. I think it's going to be, we said this on the show last week, which Celtic can't afford more kind of last day, deadline day madness. But I think we're kind of set up for it again. It kind of feels like that's where we're heading. Yeah,
well, look, that's a real high risk strategy from the board then. If they're going to go scattergun, 11th hour approach to the transfer window yet again, and they come up with the answers that they've come up with in the previous windows, it's nowhere near good enough. And they'll leave their chin exposed in terms of they've got a lot of critics in that Celtic support, and understandably so, and rightly so. So, having had a good look at what's in front of them right now in terms of likely departures, positions that need filled, they've not given themselves a lot of time. You would have thought, given the criticism that they've come in for and the critiques they've been getting from their own support, that they would have had more of a strategic approach to this particular transfer window. But right now, it looks as if they're juggling spinning plates again. And it's, as I said to you, right now, it feels as if there's more questions and answers around this Celtic side right now and what the season ahead looks like. They could really do with getting the finger out and continuing. I did say, Casper Who, the fans have to be satisfied, although that wasn't a brilliant debut by any manner of means tonight. You have to be satisfied that your club is prepared to go out and bust its own transfer record in order to bring you in a Champions League ready striker, a guy that scored goals at the highest level. Yes, it wasn't great tonight, but you would expect that there'll be a big improvement there. £6 million on top of the £11 million for Who is spent on Duran. There's 17 million quid. That's fairly impressive stuff. That's aggressive approach to the transfer market that has been lacking at Celtic. But it crumbles away to nothing. And you go back into the red in terms of the feelings of the supporters. If you now go through the next phase, which is selling players, important players for big profits, and your squad and your starting 11 gets weaker with every turn, And there's still the issue with Callum McGregor. And when I looked at that performance again tonight, Celtic were at the best tonight when Callum McGregor was on the ball and speeding up the tempo and playing passes through people and getting a grip of the action. He's still such an important player for Celtic. The mind boggles what would happen if Callum McGregor gets to the end of this window and says, "Nah, this isn't for me anymore."
Aye, no, I completely agree. It just struck me tonight when I was looking at the team. I mean, we've talked about wingers a lot. Need a goalkeeper, need a backup left back. But centre mid, to me, tonight, if and when Engels and Atati go, you're so light. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be
which is exactly why Bauer, they shouldn't be playing footsie with this guy. They should just be getting him signed. Get him in the top. Because they need to beef up their options. And they'll be accused, probably, of waiting until they've got the money in the bank from Engels and then going and doing it. But by that point, where are you in the Champions League qualifiers? Where are you in the league? Because Celtic can't play the way they played tonight and expect to win every single game that they turn up for in the Scottish top flight. And again, there's a complacency about it if you just think, oh, it's Martin and he'll find a way, just because he did it last season. Because it's getting more and more difficult. He's getting more and more puzzles to solve.
The one big positive as well for Celtic tonight, Keith, Control Lift says, Cameron Carter-Vickers, the best defender in the league. Again, a big positive. Missing for pretty much, not quite all the campaign last season, but the vast majority. I did think he looked really composed, and that is a massive game changer for Celtic if he stays fit.
Yeah, absolutely. As I think there were concerns because it was such a long layoff. What's he going to look like when he comes back into action? Looked fine to me. Yep. He absolutely coasted that game tonight. He had a physical challenge up against Simon Murray. He coped very well with that. He didn't look as if he was rusty in any way. Made some great headers, good clearances. Just the Cameron Carter-Vickers that the Celtic fans have come to know and adore. He didn't look. There was no noticeable drop off. I mean, he'll get bigger tests. I mean, for all that I'm praising Dundee, I do think they were excellent. Their play through the middle of the pitch. They weren't exactly peppering Celtic's goal. They weren't exactly pulling the defence apart and giving them a real proper test. But Cameron Carter-Vickers just strolled through that 90 minutes.
Yep, absolutely. Let me throw a few more comments at you, Keith, before we start looking at wrapping up. A lot of people, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, but Dermot is one of a few saying Motherwell gave the display of the weekend. Jim agrees. All the teams Motherwell played the best. This one, Rob says Aberdeen will provide a bigger challenge to Celtic than Rangers and definitely Hearts. Mon the Hoop says Engel needs moved on. 25 million is robbery, but I'd take the money and run. Rob again says Nygren is a latter-day Billy Stark. Technically a poor player, but a great goal scorer. Very harsh on Billy Stark. Yeah. Very harsh on both of them, actually.
Yeah, it's harsh to be fair. But I take the comparison in that, there are these players who won't dominate a midfield. They'll play in midfield and won't dominate the midfield. In fact, a lot of the game can pass them by, but they step up, they find a way, they ghost into the penalty box, and Nygren's an expert at it. And that was another example tonight. It's just the centre-halves, nobody knows where he is because of the timing of his run from a deeper area. He picks spaces. He's got a sixth sense for where the ball's going to be delivered into. It's a brilliant cross from Kieran Tierney. Mm-hmm. Fantastic header. And you had Dundee guys looking about going, where did he come from? And that's Benjamin Nygren all over the back, isn't it? That's the way that he does it. That's why he was such an influential player last season, even though for long spells of games, he's kind of floating about in the periphery.
I thought as well, just while we're on it, I thought Kieran Tierney, not that you can't expect anything less, but I thought he was brilliant tonight. Really good bit of quality that basically decided the game. Yeah,
and you think about last season, it did take Kieran Tierney a bit of time to get back towards the Kieran Tierney that Celtic fans remember. But that was a great start for him to start off with a game as positive as that. Another assist, and it was a great ball. Yeah, he was all energy. He was driving down that left-hand side in a way that maybe Alistair Johnson wasn't quite offering the same down the right-hand side. But Kieran Tierney looked match ready tonight, didn't he? He looked very sharp indeed.
Yeah, last couple of comments. Raymond says Celtic are by far weaker without Maeda chasing everything. Padraig says if it was so simple to do deals for quality players, they'd be done and dusted already. Get real, guys. Which, a fair point, but had plenty of time.
Well, look, this is a Celtic board. I don't know if he's not been paying attention here, but this is a Celtic board who make it look like the hardest job in the world. And as I said to you, as if they're completely surprised. There's a transfer window, we better buy some players. No, they've not been good enough. I believe the vast majority of Celtic fans out there would feel the same way. This board has let itself down over a number of transfer windows, consecutive transfer windows, and never mind let themselves down. They've let the fans down, and they've let their respective managers down, because they are in a strong financial position, and they have to be better at doing this. They have to be better at realising what's required, identifying the solutions, and bringing them in. I don't think it's acceptable. Even if they turn around now and do some great business, I did say after the £11 million for Casper I was expecting at least 2 more in the next 7 days. Those two players haven't arrived, and Celtic continue to swither. It's not good enough. The recruitment hasn't been good enough for a long period of time. It's part of it's the main reason that Brendan Rodgers had to leave the club under a very dark cloud just less than a year ago. It's almost serial offending now, and Celtic's board will really have to move sharply, aggressively, quickly over the course of the next week or so, because I think unless they bring in about 4 or 5 players, they're going to go into these and that's still not giving Martin O'Neill a great deal of time to work with these guys and get them bedded into his team and start 11. So they've already left themselves up against it here, Celtic, and I'm afraid it's the same mistakes that seem to get made year after year, transfer window after transfer window.
I know you like a bit of breaking news on Hotline Live, Keith, and I've got a little story for you just now before we wrap up. It's not to do with Celtic, but it's to do with Rangers. Fabrizio Romano and several other high-profile reporters on X are reporting right now, just 2 minutes ago, Rangers have reached a verbal agreement to sign Daisuke Yakota from Hanover, 26-year-old Japanese winger. He's set to move on a fee of 3.3 million plus 700k in add-ons. He's a right winger. He's never played for Japan, 26. But it looks like it's a done deal. Several people saying it's all agreed.
Well, you've caught me on the hop there, Dan, haven't
you? I know, sorry. I was caught in the hop as well. I was quickly cropping that picture there while you were talking. But it looks like it's genuine. Fabrizio Romano's really wrong.
Well, you see that. It depends who's paying him, doesn't it? Look, okay. It's the least surprising thing in the world to know that Rangers are desperately trying to sign wingers. They have been for a while. This one could be interesting if there are several sources reporting this tonight. You're telling me something I didn't know, and I'm sure our guys will be right now trying to verify that and fact check it and see what the state of affairs is. But one thing that we could say with absolute certainty is that Derek McInnes needs wide players, creative players, and he needs them now. And hopefully, from his perspective, this boy will have a bit of pace about him, because Rangers are crying out for pace in those wide areas as well. If this is genuine, if this is a solution, I don't expect it to be the only solution. I think that Derek McInnes will be looking for at least one more wide player, possibly 2, before this window shuts.
I'm sorry, I know I dropped that on you there. Neither of us have even heard of the player, but I just thought my phone was going off there, and I thought, do you know what, a bit of breaking news on Hotline Live. Starters you mean to go on for the new season.
No, that's good. Thanks, Dan. I'll speak to you later.
I'll keep you right.
I tell you what, one of the comments from earlier, I absolutely agree with, and I said as much yesterday. Thoroughly enjoyed watching Motherwell at Hibs. Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was almost like a relief to see this is the same Motherwell that we enjoyed watching last season. I've come to realise, as I said yesterday, it's one of my favourite things now. I really enjoy watching Motherwell play football. Their style is terrific. The football they played to win the penalty in the first half was superb, and they took it up even a level with the winning goal. It's absolutely a joy to watch that Motherwell side, and I'm really excited to see what they can do. They've got a big test in the European qualifiers as well. But you know something? I'm actually excited to see what Motherwell look like playing against top level opposition in Europe, because the way they move the ball around, I think they could surprise people.
Aye, absolutely. I would just say as well on Motherwell, Keith, that, and Motherwell fans won't thank me for saying this, but I'm a wee bit surprised that 3 or 4 of those players are still there. I know they've lost Elijah Just and Elliot Watt, but Ibrahim Assaid, Maswanise, you mentioned Longello yesterday. These are players that look like they're capable of playing at a higher level.
Yeah, the side looks as if he could be he could have a real breakout season this season. I mean, he looks sharp as anything. His feet are so quick. He's clever. He's got a turn of pace. He can finish. As Hibs noted their cost. Look, I've said it. If I'm Celtic or I'm Rangers and I'm crying out for cover at left back, I don't know why I've not gone to. I don't know why anybody from the recruitment department hasn't gone and picked up the phone to Motherwell and said, what sort of price are you looking for Longello? I think that he would significantly improve both of these squads, and they both need cover at left back. I think Longello could go to either team. I've just been full of praise for Kieran Tierney. I'm not saying he's going to knock Kieran Tierney out of that team, but I tell you what, if Kieran Tierney has to take a break, picks up an injury, whatever, he could walk into that team, and I don't know, there'd be a bit of a drop off probably, but not as major as it could be with other players. I think Longello looks like the sort of player that could go to either of these clubs and do well.
I completely agree. I think that brings us to the end of tonight's show, Keith. Tonight's first late night edition of Hotline Live for the new season. The comments, as ever, have been brilliant. Thank you so much. And we'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Yes.
It was a pleasure, Keith.
Back in the studio, Dan. Back in the studio tomorrow, son.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it already. Yeah,
after this show finishes, you just stay in the line because I need to speak to you about this trying to drop Japanese bombs on me in the middle of a...
Sorry about that. A lot of the people in the comments dropped it to me as well, and I thought, I'll see if there's anything else, but there you go. Thank you very much for watching at home. I hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.